this tutorial, we're going to be going over the construction setup of the stud wall family. Now, the one thing that's kind of nice about this is it gives you the flexibility to load in just one family and then swap between different types. So for instance, if you had a 6-inch stud wall that you used frequently, if you had a 3 5/8 and a 2.5, it's pretty easy to just go into your family, select type, and just flip it. So we're going to get started with that right now. So the first thing you want to do is you want to start by going into your type properties here, and you want to go up to this little button right here. So this is going to create a new type. So we're going to create 3 types. We're going to create a 6-inch, a 3 5/8, and a 2.5, like I mentioned before. So this is pretty simple. I'm going to go through and do that real quick here. Okay, so nothing special there. You can go into more detail if you want. If you wanted to have a 6-inch stud wall that is also 24 inches and one that's 16 inches on center, you can do that as well. We're just going to go with the basic 16 inches on center. So we're going to swap to our 6-inch stud wall here, and then we're going to start creating construction types. So just as a general idea, so we're going to go and we're going to select this. You can see that you can actually swap between types. So the way that it kind of works is you create a type property that can reference the stud types that you've created. So all these types here, and then it can swap it inside of these type properties while you're in the project. So I'll kind of explain how that works. So I'm going to go and I'm going to select here, I'm going to go to label, I'm going to go add parameter. I'm going to create a name, I'm going to call it end studs. It's going to be a type property, and then I'm going to go up to construction, because technically this is how it's built, and we're going to hit OK. Pretty simple. We're going to go to the other end stud, we're going to select that guy, and we're going to add the same parameter. You can go into as much detail as you want. If you wanted to say left side and right side, that's up to you, but we're going to keep it simple here. We're going to do the same thing for the top track. We're going to add parameter. We're going to top track. And same thing, type. We're going to put this under construction. We're going to hit OK. And then the same thing for the bottom track. Okay, so the parameters are created. We're going to go to our type properties again, and then we're going to go through and we're going to look at our types here. So it defaults to the one that you selected here, but we can swap it. So if we wanted to go to our 3 5/8 wall, we can just start to fill this in. I'm going to do that quick here. Okay, so you'll see here that you can actually reference anything you wanted. So if you wanted to actually reference tracks as your end studs, you can do that too here. So just so you know, it references any type that's inside the project, not just studs. So we're going to hit apply, and you can see that it shrunk everything. It didn't shrink the internal studs because we haven't set a parameter for that, but we're going to do that right now. So we're going to hit OK. Or actually, we're going to go back to our 6-inch stud wall real quick. We're going to hit apply, and then we're going to actually, unfortunately, the only way for this to work is for us to delete our array and start from scratch. I wanted to go through how to do the array first though before we actually went through these. So for those of you that have already seen how to do this, I'm basically just going to do everything I did before, but instead of but I'm going to assign the type property or type label before I do the array. So I'm just going to do that quickly here. Okay, so you can see it's pretty simple. I'm just going to give that a flex real quick just to make sure that everything transferred properly. Yep, everything seems to work properly. Beautiful. Okay, so we're just going to go through. I'm going to swap them all out within this thing, within each type real quick here. Go to 3D, and there you go. Looks pretty good. Just gonna make that 0 for the time being. So I'm just gonna move this to the side here, and I'm just gonna apply each one just to make sure that everything works properly. Looks like everything's good. Okay, sweet. So it looks like everything's working properly. And I think we can do one good test within our project just to see and make sure that when we array it, everything's working properly. So I'm going to go to load into project, and I already have a basic project set up, just an empty construction one. I'm going to go to my curtain wall, just the standard, the empty one. I'm going to draw a wall. I'm going to go to 3D and give this thing some color so it makes more sense. I'm going to tab through. I'm going to select the panel, and then I'm going to find my, so we have each family here. Let's put the 2.5-inch stud. So it looks like everything's going in properly. Let's just double check just to make sure. It won't give me the panel for some reason. See if we can swap through 3 5/8. Awesome. 6-inch. Beautiful. So it looks like everything's working pretty good so far. Let's do a couple of tests too. Let's add some grids in. So we'll add a grid here and a grid here. And then we'll also add a 1 segment grid through here. Then we'll swap this out for empty. There you go. Looks like everything's working pretty good. So in the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to go over how to add extra studs, how we can add visibility parameters and auto visibility parameters. So because in some cases you may want to have an extra stud here, you never know, on the ends. We're also going to give it the ability to add bend tracks. So if you have, different track types that, for instance, if you build it differently, maybe you want to see what that looks like, visualize it better. And it'll also calculate. So if you look at the track family that I created before, it'll actually calculate, it'll add that 3 inches or whatever bent into your length of your track, or reported length. One thing to note as well is this treats it as separate panels, so you'll see that it actually breaks the track at the top. Most people, I find, at least when they're doing these calculations, they tend to just want a linear footage of track, because there's probably no chance that you're going to get however long this is, 50 feet of track. You're going to want a linear footage to calculate when you send to do your schedules. And then one thing that we'll also go over as well is how to look up these tracks in a schedule and how to filter it properly. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my other videos if you have any other questions about how I got to this stage. Like, subscribe, and comment. Thanks again. See you later.